Have you ever gotten up and quit your job in the middle of a work shift? If so, why? Day 2. Owner tells me that he pays taxes for us, so he pays cash and it is after taxes. So 7.5 and not the 10-hour we agreed to. I walked out and called the IRS hotline to report fraud. Dishwasher. Had worked there 2 weeks. The AC for kitchen and office both broke the day before I started. Office AC was fixed the following day. Kitchen AC wasn't priority. It was a heat wave in August, hitting 115 degrees outside. The whole kitchen staff walked out. Temp agency sent me for assignment to a small factory making furniture. 7 a.m. start time. At 7:03 or 04. While still waiting for some sort of foreman supervisor to come over say hello. Here's what we do here. Couple of dudes start shouting at each other. It breaks out into full-blown fisticuffs. Yeah, I'd seen enough. Funny how I have a completely crystal clear memory of looking at the clock in my car as I drove away. 7:12 a.m. I worked at a car wash during the winter in the wet tunnel. Manager got in my face for wearing a coat that didn't have the company logo on it. But they didn't make uniform coats. Told him to eat my entire ass and choke on it. And then left. It gets below zero here regularly. I'm not risking my life or even my comfort for $12 an hour. Yeah, me and the entire waiting staff walked out. The new owner of the restaurant I worked for wanted to charge the staff for breakages. I was a cook and new manager kept making me cover dish pit cause dishwasher was not showing up. Because they refused to hire another one and were making him work 7 days week. I told him if he kept making me close dish pit I was gonna put my 2 weeks in. He said good and went back to cooking. So I went and grabbed my shoes and backpack. Got his attention. He turned around and I gave him a peace sign and left. Keep in mind I had been there for 3 years. Worked as a busser, dishwasher, server, host, cook. I did everything they asked. He had only been out manager for 2 months. Dell Computer Sales 1998. They fired 90 of all the commission-making salespeople and replaced them with hourly workers from a temp agency. They then asked me to train them. I was like, maybe you should have trained them before firing everyone. Why would I train them so you can fire me in 2 weeks? I then grabbed my shit and notepad out of there. I was 17 and just finished mopping the floor at closing time and was walking out the door. The owner's son walked across the floor in boots covered in motor oil and told me to mop this shit. Up I dropped the mop on the floor and told him to do it himself. I was being paid minimum wage and wasn't going to deal with that shit. Had a part-time job for about 40 minutes in college. Started as a data entry job. Paid $7.25. The owner found out I was going to school for an IT-related field and starting throwing tasks like updating his website and basic tech support. I left almost immediately. I got a job at a new grooming salon in a Petco. It was a commission-based job. And they still had a sign out front saying grooming salon coming soon. So after a week of making no money, I came into work and the manager said, "You can't wear jeans here." "Okay," I replied, then turned around and walked out never to be seen again. He called a week later asking me to come back. I laughed and hung up. I worked a door. We barred all the local drug dealers. They came back multiple times over the next few weeks trying to attack us. Came to work one day and they was all allowed back in the pub. The landlord missed the money they put behind the bar. I left. Wasn't worth the risk. I just walked off the door and left them to it. Was server. Working for tips only. Had 1 table in 1 week. Made $2. Probably nobody ever realized I was gone. I was at the height of my alcoholism. Working in a pizza shop. I was making pizzas and trying to hold it together while in active withdrawal. Got my paycheck via direct deposit and decided I would move on to bigger and better things that day. Bigger and better things being a big bottle of gas station vodka and some $1 lemonade for a mixer. Don't recommend working in a hot environment as an alcoholic in active withdrawal. Oh yeah. I worked at a call center answering service on the 7 a.m. 3 p.m. shift and was in school part-time taking evening classes. They changed my schedule to be the evening shift 3:11 p.m. with only 2 days notice and told me if I wanted to keep working there I'd have to find a way to make it work with my school schedule. So I went to my desk, packed up my things, put my phone on hold and went home. McDonald's. Our manager Mark was a dick. He chucked the bag of McFlurry toppings at me during another one of his tantrums and told me to fill it. I threw it back at his head. Then threw my hat at him. Then my MCD's polo. Then walked out half naked. Would have thrown my pants and shoes too but I paid for them. Fuck you, Mark. I walked into work, unlocked my toolbox, took deep breath, locked my toolbox and drove home. I was a convenience store cashier. We got a new manager and just after I counted my drawers she introduced herself and told me you've heard the term, all shit runs downhill? Well, that's what it's like to work for me. I said okay. Well, I don't work for you. Bye. Yep. I was working as a cook in a small restaurant. Since it was slow the owner left to go play tennis while he made me do everything serving, washing dishes, and cooking. So I was literally the only employee there. And what do you know? That day it got busy and we got a bunch of customers and I ran the entire operation solo serving, cooking, washing dishes. After the rush died down I quit and walked out. Over 2 decades ago, I walked out on target. They kept scheduling me outside of my availability, no matter how often I brought it to their attention. The last time they did so, I reminded them that my availability had zero wiggle room. They told me to figure it out. So I did. Other than that aspect of things being mismanaged, I liked working there well enough. I had nice peers and all. Was working as a telemarketer 20 years ago. Guy a few cubicles away from me got in trouble for going off script. Flipped out. Threw his large computer monitor on the ground and said he was coming back tomorrow to kill all of us. I took my time eating my sandwich at lunch that day. Came back. And decided that I had spread enough misery for one summer. Told my manager and left. Had a creepy-ass manager that would give pay raises to women only. When I found out I had been working there longer and getting paid less because I didn't have boobs, I brought it up to him. Dude didn't like getting called out so I told him I wasn't coming back. Finished my shift and didn't come back for my next shift. Dude calls me trying to get me back and I was like nope. If you call me again it better be to tell me my last check is ready for pickup. I worked for Dish TV as a installer. Nothing was said to me during the hiring training process. After about 4 months of work, my manager complained I wasn't upselling enough new installs like a basic sub-package to premium channels. For example, I told him I had no desire to sell people something they didn't want. He pressed. I walked. To add to it, I was a remote tech worked out of my house instead of a shop. Dish shipped me all my equipment. I told him he could pick up his crap the next day or it would be on the curb. 2 trucks showed up the next day. What a crappy company. My husband. He was summoned for an emergency behavior meeting. Started with even though your numbers are top in the company you get up from your desk for water too many times a day. He said I'm going to stop you right there. We can make this quick. I'm out. And immediately left. Worked in logistics.